So I had this thought, and it's an ongoing thought, and I'm not claiming to have a specific right answer, but nonetheless I'm going to share it with you. So if in slavery, which was considered a bondage, was outlawed eventually, right? Because of the oppressive nature of it, right? Because to be considered someone's property as a human being is not and was not a desirable trait. With an emphasis on being the property of another. And we eventually did away with that concept because all of us should be treated equally or, relatively equal. I know there's a big to-do about women and men's sports and men and women's sports and so on and so on. But for the most part, right, when it comes to human rights and what have you, we like equality. Okay? And so I don't want to be someone's property. I want to have my own ambitions and goals and, all the life, liberty and pursuits involved in happiness. So with that being said, what would you say is the popular belief or beliefs behind marriage? By that I mean, especially in the, in Christian faith or Christianity, I grew up there for at least 4 decades, or in that way. And the women were always taught to be subservient and obedient to their master or husband. And that their body is not their own, and vice versa, right? At least there was equality in the statement that neither one of the individuals' bodies belong to themselves and now belong to their significant other. And so, but the point is, if we did away with owning people, enslaving people, being the master over people per se, if we did away with that, then why do we still hold on to those archaic values involving or involved in marriage? I mean, I think I could argue that the institution of marriage has existed at least as long as slavery, probably way before, right? I mean, so both slavery and marriage are ancient. So, again, we got rid of the practice of enslavement, of ownership of another human being, essentially lording over another human being. And we generally decided as a society that those practices were not equitable, were not honorable even. But yet, once again, that institution of marriage, and again, at least from a Christian standpoint, making the woman the subservient and desiring her husband. I think the scripture talks about that as one of the curses, after allegedly, eating the forbidden fruit, was that the woman's desire would now be to or for her husband. Now, I'm not going to argue with you what that actually is supposed to mean. That's not the point. There's a larger point here that I'm discussing, and I want you to consider, if you will, if you like to play these intellectual games. All right. So what say you? Do you see marriage, the institution of marriage, where it's generally, I would say, accepted that the man is the head and the woman is under that head and, should be obedient, and you get what I'm saying? Isn't that the same or a similar practice to slavery? I know slavery got a lot worse, obviously, lynching and all that, but I've heard some pretty significant stories of abuse because, and let me remind you that at one point in time, the woman wasn't able to vote. Remember, the women, they weren't able to participate in society in various ways, right? They weren't on par with their counterpart, their husbands. Remember that? They had to fight for rights too, as the historical record displays. Sounds strikingly similar to the, civil rights acts and all that kind of stuff, right? Granting the African Americans or Negroes rights, but those had to be fought for. Well, the women, the wives, likewise. So I'm just saying there's a lot of similarities, and I'm just questioning if we got rid of slavery, then why did that not also translate to the abolishing of those ancient practices of subjugating women under the, at times, oppressive arm of her counterpart? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? That'd be a cool discussion to have. Obviously, we know, a lot of women empowerment groups and women's lib, perhaps, groups are gonna have, they're definitely gonna be on the side of, agreeing that should have been abolished straight away. But just to have a sensible discussion, did we get rid of one stain in our history did we cherry or choose and pick which ones we wanted to get rid of, or they wanted to get rid of, whoever they may be, for whatever purpose, and hold on to the other oppressive doctrines of women being, the wives being subservient to the husband. Just putting it out there. What do you say? All right, we'll talk to you soon. Sound off in the comment section. Hit the like button. Share. Let's get a conversation going. Hey, we're shifting into a new paradigm anyways. Why not get rid of all the oppression? I'm just saying. I mean, I know. We're not, it's not always good to make drastic changes instantaneously. We got to have a discussion about it, but I'm just saying, it just made sense. It made sense to me to ask this question, and it doesn't necessarily make sense to me that we kept something going that is so much like slavery. That doesn't make any sense to me. All of those practices should have been abolished. Now, what might that look like? What would happen if, there was really equality, where society didn't look at the man as the head per se, governing over the household, the wife, the children, etc., etc. But they were literally saw as equal. Now, I'll close with this. The issue of slavery, the master and the servant, the slave, what happened when they did away with that? What did the landscape look like afterwards? Where there was now, at least allegedly, equality. A black man could go to Ivy League schools, can have all the rights that, the white man, let's say, had. So what did it do to the culture? Did it affect us in a negative way, per se? Or are we better off? So then, whichever way you answer that, I would ask you to consider what would happen if it was a general practice in our society that women respectfully are equals. There is no head over, the woman's the head too over the family. You get what I'm saying? What would our society look like? Would it be better off? Now, I know from the standpoint of Christianity, Christians are going to argue, well, the scripture, there's order, God established an order. Well, I seem to recall there being an argument that God allowed enslavement too. So if God allowed that, and we said we don't like that, are we disobeying God likewise? So Christians, are you being disobedient to God by abolishing slavery? By freeing the slave of a master who doesn't want to end slavery? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. Ladies, sound off. What do you got to say? I think that'd be a good discussion to have. All right, that's all I got for you. Longer than I wanted to be on here, but I like food for thought, right? All right, talk to you next time. Peace.